Thank you, Mr. Acting Chairman. Thank you very much to our witnesses for your perseverance with us today. Around the world, we are watching a clash unfold between democratic values and authoritarian oppression. From Europe to the Middle East to this very continent, this is the story of our moment, democracy versus authoritarianism. Iran sits at the center of a growing alliance of authoritarianism, an axis that includes not only hostile nation states like Russia and China, but also a network of terrorist organizations and armed militias across the Middle East. Iran props up groups like Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis, using them as tools to destabilize democracies and challenge U.S. interests. This is a part of Iran's global strategy to expand authoritarian influence and erode the norms of international law and human rights. And while we sit here warning of Iranian malign activities, President Trump's national security team has been carelessly handling classified and mission-sensitive information about the Houthis in open. The problem isn't just that they mistakenly added a reporter to a text chain. The bigger problem is that these officials, some of the most surveilled people on the planet, were communicating in a way that allowed that mistake to even happen. How many signal chats contain sensitive or classified material right now? How many have occurred over the last several months? Reporters may not have been able to see them, but Iran, Russia, and China very easily could. It is entirely possible that Iran or one of its partners was following along on the signal chat that we know about. And because of that, it is a miracle. It is a miracle that we are not mourning dead American troops right now. Had there been a retaliation waiting in response because of that breach, that could have handed the Houthis and Iran a major victory. That's not just embarrassing, it was dangerous. As Hamas is weakened and Iran looks to recalibrate its strategy, we must ensure that Iran does not have additional proxies to fall back on. I'm proud to co-lead the bipartisan bicameral Accountability for Terrorist Perpetrators of October 7th Act, introduced by my colleagues Representatives Sherman and Lawler, which would finally sanction the Popular Resistance Committees, a brutal terrorist organization in Gaza and an active participant in the horrific attacks in Israel on October 7th. These terrorists have carried out attacks against Americans, Israelis, and Palestinians for decades, and their deep ties to Hamas make them a credible candidate for Iran if they are looking to increase support for other proxies in the region. So, Mr. Rule, my question for you is, despite having been responsible for American civilians being murdered since 2003, the Popular Resistance Committees has never been sanctioned. As Iran adjusts its strategy in response to the weakening of its primary proxies, how should the U.S. government and our allies monitor and preempt the rise of new or lesser-known Iranian-backed groups that could fill a vacuum?
Superb question. And I go back to a previous statement. As long as the Quds Force exists as an organization created to sponsor militias and terrorists, we will see more and more of this. There are Quds Force training camps in Iran designed to train multinational terrorists to, in essence, go out and become train-the-trainer individuals. Some of the best training Iran provides to the Houthis, to Hezbollah and others is provided within Iran itself. Until Iran is compelled to change the Quds Force itself, we are fated to deal with this issue. So I would encourage legislation that insists that our partners in Europe and the region do what they can to constrain Iran's from the Quds Force's activity. Until this happens, we are fated to watch this movie play again and again.
Thank you. And quickly, Ms. Stroll, given Iran's strategy of using proxies to destabilize fragile democracies and suppress civil society from Lebanon to Iraq, how can the U.S. more effectively support democratic institutions and counteract the malign influence of these authoritarian-backed actors?
the ability of societies and communities to be resilient in the face of what the Iranians will try to do, which is reconstitute their threat network, is to empower our diplomats and our development assistance professionals. So that would particularly be the U.S. Agency for International Development, and to allow our diplomats to do what they do best, which is political and diplomatic engagement.
Thank you. I yield back the balance of my time.